Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are watching another exciting chess game. This one was played in 2018 as a part of Tata Steel chess tournament, and Magnus Carlsen was playing as white. His opponent was four-time female world chess champion Yifan Hou, a really strong opponent. And in this game Magnus Carlsen sacrificed an exchange in the endgame and he finished the game with beautiful passed pawns. Unfortunately, Yifan Hou was unable to defend and she ended resigning the game. So without further ado, we will go straight into the game. Magnus opened with c4 and after e6. For now we are in English Open, in Agincourt defense. Magnus continues with knight to c3. We have d5 for black, and after d4 we are now in Queen's Gambit declined. Black continues with knight to f6, we have c takes on d5, and after knight takes on d5 Magnus plays e3 defending this pawn. We have c5 on the board, immediately striking in the center. Magnus for now not takes and he plays bishop to d3. We have c takes on d4, and after e takes on d4 Yifan Hou decided to pick up this knight, and after b takes on c3 we have queen to c7, developing move and also attacking this Magnus's pawn. Magnus continues with bishop to d2. Black continues with knight to d7, and right now Magnus decided to play queen to g4. The main idea is to of course aim at this pawn and simply stop the development of this bishop. Again continued with knight to f6 attacking Magnus's queen, and Magnus continued with queen to g3. Now of course after queen to g4 Yifan Hou had this option. Of course she could have played g6, and after knight to f3 the game would continue with bishop to g7, and after castle castle this was almost equal position. White is slightly better, but Yifan Hou probably thought that these two bishops are too scary and this attack can go really nasty for this black king, so she didn't want to go into that. So we have queen to g4, knight to f6. Magnus retained his queen that was attacked, and right now Yifan Hou decided to trade the queens. Magnus is confident in his endgame chances in this game. Of course, black had other moves, for example like queen to d6 was slightly better, queen to c6 is not good. Again, white simply has the development, he has a really nice position. You still have to figure out how to develop this bishop, so practically after queen to g3 you are forced to trade, which happened in the game. We have h takes on g3, and right now bishop to d6 was played for black. Finally Yifan Hou develops her bishop safely. We have knight to f3 for Magnus, and right now we have b6 with obvious idea to fianchetto this bishop. Magnus now continues with a4. Since Magnus Carlsen has 3 pawn islands, Yifan Hou only has 2, as you can see, and Magnus wants to undermine and create weaknesses on this side, so he plays a4. We have bishop to b7, and right now a5. If the trade happens, rook will enter the game, and then this pawn will be a good target. Also this rook will be a very useful piece. Of course, black doesn't want to do that, and she decided to play king to e7. Now castling is no longer necessary, there are no longer queens on the board, and right now you can simply connect the rooks with one of those moves. Magnus also follows the same principle and also defends this bishop from potential jumping in this knight here and maybe pressuring this bishop, which happened in the game. Actually, knight to e4 was played for Yifan Hou, and right now Magnus saves his bishop pair, playing bishop e1. We have h6 on the board because you want to move this rook, for example on c8, and you don't want to leave this pawn hanging. c4 was played for Magnus, trying to grab the center. We have knight to f6, retreating move for Yifan Hou. We have bishop to c3. Magnus now can retreat his bishop to his original square. We have bishop to e4. Right now Yifan Hou decided to offer a trade here. Magnus for now refuses and he plays the strongest move, and that is rook h to b1, trying to take advantage of this semi-open b file. We have bishop takes on d3, king takes on d3, and right now we have knight to d7, simply preventing any kind of c5 threats. We have knight to d2 for Magnus Carlsen. We have rook h to d8 for black, and right now Magnus puts his knight on a much better square here. As you can see, this is a white square and this bishop is dark squared bishop, so this is a perfect square for this knight. We have bishop to c7 played for black. Magnus continues with another great move, bishop to b4, king retreats to e8, and right now we have f4. Another good move here, simply stopping any sort of ideas with e5 here. White has a pretty decent position, slightly better, but has much more space here. We have rook a to c8, which is a pretty much only move. Black here is pretty much almost out of moves. As you can see now, you probably saw that this king is exposed and maybe knight c5 was an option, but this simply just gives up a pawn with knight to c5 check. After knight takes on c5, bishop b takes on c5, and bishop takes on c5, there is nothing you can do, and white is practically winning here according to computer analysis. So we had after f4 rook a to c8, we have a takes on b6, a takes on b6, and right now Magnus's move rook to a7. Although nothing is threatened, Magnus saw that there is a possibility here for a beautiful sacrifice, and right now we have knight to b8 here played for black. And as you can see, this move, this rook can now choose what to do. If he is careless, he can even get captured here or get trapped in some way. Also, black's next idea is to play this dangerous knight to c6 move with a double attack on this rook, also on this bishop. Actually, it's a triple attack, and also on this pawn, so it can be really dangerous for Magnus. But Magnus calculated all of this, and his idea was actually to sacrifice his rook for this bishop. He does that. Brilliant, Magnus. Rook takes on c7, and now we have a knight to d6 check. King goes on d7, which is the best move, obviously. After knight to d6 check, you don't want to go on the black diagonal here, because it will lead to discover checks. So king to d7, and right now we have knight picking up on f7, so Magnus retrieves his first pawn. So for now, according to board evaluation, so black only has one pawn in advantage, at least for now. We have rook d to c8, immediately pressuring this pawn. Knight to e5 for Magnus Carlsen check, and also defending this pawn. King goes on e8, and right now we have a bishop to d6 attacking this rook. Rook goes on b7, pretty much the only move here, since this pawn is also hanging and it is attacked from this rook. c5 by Magnus Carlsen. Magnus decided to create a passed pawn here. We have knight to c6 offering trade to Magnus Carlsen. Magnus, of course, for now refuses, and he plays rook to b6. Another pawn falls. Of course, you couldn't take this pawn since your rook is hanging. I hope you guys saw that. So after c5, you cannot take this. You cannot take this pawn because your rook is hanging here. So knight to c6, rook takes on b6, rook takes on b6, and c takes on b6. And for now, Magnus has one passed pawn here. Game continued with a knight to d8. Now, of course, we will continue the game with regular variation, but I just want to show you that after c takes on b6, what else was there? Maybe knight takes on e5 was a possibility for black, but this is not good for black, because after bishop takes on e5, king goes on d7, b7, and rook to f8, and pretty much this is game over. So it is definitely not good to pick up this knight if you're wondering that. That is the reason after c takes on b6, knight to d8 was played. We have a bishop to c7, now locking this rook here. Rook has to go to the only free square. We have king to c4 by Magnus Carlsen. A knight goes on b7 for black. We have king to b5, always bringing your king closer to your pawns and pressuring the enemy pieces. Rook to a2. Now Yifan tries to attack on this second rank, tries to pick up some pawns or to give a back rank checks. You have to try, because your rook is your only hope in these sort of positions. g4 for Magnus Carlsen, sacrificing this pawn. Black goes king on e7. We have g3 on the board because black didn't want to pick up that. Why not save your pawn? We have knight to d6 check for Yifan Hou. Bishop takes on d6. Magnus now decided to trade, and after king takes on d6, we have knight to c4 check. King goes on d7, king goes on c5 for Magnus Carlsen. Yifan Hou finds an amazing move, which is rook to c2. For now, the position is equal. This is the equalizing move, but we have f5 played by Magnus Carlsen. We have e takes on f5, g takes on f5, and right now Magnus Carlsen has two passed pawns, but it is difficult to push them since rook is behind. You have to be careful. Rook can always give checks and can always create difficulties for white. Rook to f2 was played for Yifan Hou, nothing too special. We have a knight to d6 played for Magnus Carlsen. Rook goes on g2, right now attacking this pawn. And right now this is one of the mistakes of the position. After knight to d6, the best was either rook to c2 check or rook to b2. So with rook to c2 check, I will just show you some example line, but this is kind of difficult. It is endgame knowledge. King goes on d5, rook to b2, threatening to pick up this pawn. We have b7, and after king to c7, the promotional square is saved. Knight to e8 check, king goes on d7, and right now after knight takes on g7, computer sees this as a dead draw because rook to b5, and with perfect play, I mean computer play, black can draw, but of course, as you all know, we are just humans, we cannot find the best moves always. And rook to g2 was played for Yifan Hou. We have knight to e4 for Magnus Carlsen. Rook to b2, protecting the promotion of this pawn. G4 for Magnus Carlsen, rook to b1 for Yifan Hou. The position is only slightly better for white still, and right now Magnus finds this amazing move, knight to d2, and the main idea here is of course that right now you want to go with your knight on c4, and after that you can go on e5 here, and then you can try and threaten when getting ready to promote. You want to put your knight here to push away this king, so this is a brilliant idea by Magnus Carlsen. After rook to b1 and knight to d2, if you are thinking that if f6 was a tempting option for Magnus, yes indeed it was, but actually after g takes on f6, knight takes on f6, king e6, just I will show you a sample line, knight to g8, you actually go for rook c1 check, and after king goes on b5 you go for king d5 here, and after knight takes on h6 we have rook b1 check, king to a6 and king to c6. And for now pretty much everything is defended, each square is protected, and this is a dead draw. Also computer gives a slight better option here for black. This pawn will obviously fall, you cannot protect it, this pawn can be stopped, this pawn also can be stopped, and this is a draw. So f6 was not a good move, knight to d2 was the best move of the position, and Magnus Carlsen found it, of course, the genius he is. We have rook to h1, and after d5 we have another mistake. Yifan Hou wanted to create some sort of a counter attack, and after h5 the position is getting really difficult for her. It's really difficult to find any sort of idea in these sort of positions, but after h5 Magnus continues with d6. We have king to c8 for black, we have g takes on h5, rook takes on h5, and yeah, it looks like this rook is now in the game, but for some reason it is simply not enough. We have king to c6, king goes on b8, knight on e4 for Magnus Carlsen, and after rook takes on f5 and knight c5 was the last move of the game where Yifan Hou decided to resign, because there is simply no way of stopping the promotion of white's pawns. Now one of the ideas of course is, for example, if you go king c8, this solves nothing. We have b7 check, king goes on b8, knight to d7 check, king goes on a7, and we promote a queen, and after king to a6 either queen a8 or queen to b6 is checkmate. So after knight to c5, what else can you play? You can maybe play for rook f7, but simply we can push d7, and after rook f6, king can go on d5, rook f5 check, king goes on e6, rook f8, and after king to e7 we simply promote. Again, after rook to f7 we can also push simply b7 is perfectly fine, and after king goes on a7 we have a d7, and after rook f6 king to c7, and again there is nothing you can do. One of the pawns will promote to a queen and Magnus will win his game. And this is how this game ended, guys, and this is all I have prepared for you today. If you enjoyed this game, please make sure to leave a comment, like, and share this video with other people who enjoy chess. If you like, you can also subscribe to the channel. I stream on YouTube and I also stream on Twitch, and you will find links of my socials in the description of this video, of course. If you have any suggestions about future videos, any questions about the analysis of this game, do let me know. And one thing I forgot to mention, it's really hot here. That is the reason why I am I'm doing this without my shirt. I do apologize for the inconvenience, guys, but it's really hot. It's unbearable here in Serbia. So yeah, and this was all for today's game, guys. I really appreciate you watching, and we will see each other in the next video. I wish you a pleasant day. Bye bye.